In this episode, I talk about real estate arbitrage and Angry Birds. Hello and welcome to episode 17 of Real Estate TV. I'm very excited to bring you today's episode. We're going to be taking a closer look at one of my favourite things to talk about, and that is arbitrage and what arbitrage is. So it was pointed out to me the other day that I talk about arbitrage a lot on the show, but I haven't necessarily given a good enough definition yet. So that's what today's entire episode is going to be about. I'm going to look in depth at what arbitrage is and talk about how you can penetrate it in the market. So we're going to jump straight on in. What is arbitrage? So arbitrage is the technical definition of what arbitrage is when you buy something underpriced in one market and then sell it in another market for an appropriate price. So it's buying something that is disproportionately underpriced and then selling it at its appropriate price. So basically, what you're doing is you're looking around for an absolute bargain for someone not knowing what they're selling is worth, buying it and then selling it for the right price. Now, people can sell things cheap for a whole bunch of reasons. Sometimes the product's just crap. Sometimes they're impatient. I know I've seen cars for sale on Gumtree, for example, where people are moving to Italy and they need the car gone in 2 weeks, so they take off $5,000 because they just want the thing gone. And that's a classic example of arbitrage. I've got an even better example of arbitrage for you. So I was driving yesterday through Mornington, and I like a good flip. So I like to buy things that are very, very underpriced. And then I like to sell them again on Facebook Marketplace and eBay and Gumtree. It's just a little hobby of mine. And I actually found what I think is the bargain of the century. And I've actually already sold one of these. So I saw the salvo sign. I went, I won't pull in. And at the last minute I went, you know what, I am. So I pulled off to the side of the road, jumped on in. Out the front was this big tub of these. So these are Angry Birds toys. Now bear with me, this is still somewhat a property show. Basically what I did is I had a look at them and then I saw the sign on the front. So I bought 30 of them and the sign on the front said, if you buy 10, you only have to pay $1. $1. So I spent $3 on this bag. I looked them up on Amazon. They're $5.45 on Amazon. So that is a fantastic example of arbitrage. Now, I've already sold one for $3. I know someone who's into Angry Birds, so I gave them a discounted price. And why did I choose $3? Because I want to cover my costs straight away, and I like the guy, so I didn't want to rip him off. It's actually my brother. So that there is a perfect example of what arbitrage is. And before everyone jumps below in the comments and says you're never going to sell them, I've done this a couple of times now. I bought a whole bunch of Disney mugs for $40. On the flip, I made 80, and then I bought some for 15, and I sold back to a guy that I'd already sold to. So I literally just DM'd him and said, do you want these? And I just doubled what I bought them for. So I bought 6 for 15, sold them for $30. So this does work. The thing is, with this sort of thing, you do have to be a bit patient. It's a good way to make money, I think, if you're strapped for cash and you sort of want to see it start to trickle in. It starts slow at first, but I'm under the impression that once you get an eye for it and you develop a good work ethic, you can take it to scale and make $5 an item, let's say, at scale and be doing 1,000 a week. But that is a completely different conversation. This is not a flipping show. This is a real estate show. So what is arbitrage? That's what arbitrage is. Buying something at a disproportionately underpriced value and selling it appropriately. So in property, I think a really good example of that is buying a townhouse off the plan. Why, you might ask? Because of the time frame around townhouses, you're often waiting for 18 to 24 months for settlement. So just because you put down a deposit, technically, that's just a registration of interest when you put down your 10% deposit. The day you settle is when you actually own the house. That's when you're buying the property effectively. So on that day of settlement, I'll give you a really good example with these ones. They're now worth 400 and I paid 335. So I paid 335 on the day of settlement for a property worth 400. Now, I think that's arbitrage. You do have to be very, very patient in that example, but I think you're making money. You can't be too picky about time frames when you're making $65,000 for doing nothing, just being patient. So that's a really good example of arbitrage. A couple of other examples of arbitrage are buying in an area that is taking advantage of gentrification. That's a lot more difficult, I think. I don't know a whole heap about how you pick gentrification. I know it in theory, but I've never done it in practice, and I don't like to talk about things that I don't know in practice. But that is an example of buying in an area that isn't a good real estate area, and then it becomes good, but you bought at a discounted price. That's good if you know a little bit about what's coming up in the town. I mean, if a big business is moving into a town and a couple of other smaller businesses are going to follow it, obviously cash is going to come in, and they're going to bring workers, and those workers are going to need to live somewhere, so things will be worth more. So that's a good example of arbitrage. And buying in new suburbs as well. So I'm a big fan of the buying in the new suburbs, or buying in the first release of a new subdivision, and that's the first subdivision in the area. So that's that point where there's nothing there. Everyone's a little bit tense. Is it going to work? And often the price is quite sharp at that rate. It's always best. I had a sales manager who said this to me when I was 18 years old. It is always best to buy in the first release of a project, because as the project goes out, you pay more each stage. Obviously, the developer bumps the price up. So it's always best to buy in the first release. That's also another really good example of arbitrage. So it's just using your nous, looking out for a bargain. Some of them are going to be better bargains than others, I'll be honest with you. Personally, I think this is a cracker of a bargain. I'm going to try and sell them for $5, but if I can only sell them for $3, there's $90 sitting down there on the floor, which isn't bad. I reckon that's a pretty good win for $3. But yeah, that's what arbitrage is, and I'm going to talk about it pretty consistently throughout the series. I think that it's important. I think it's probably the best way to do your real estate investing, in my opinion. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching episode 17. I hope you enjoyed this one. I know I certainly did enjoy filming it. Arbitrage is something that is very close to my heart. It's how I get my thrills. I absolutely love jumping out there and making a quick flip. For me, it's less about the cash as well, and just more about the fun of it. To be honest with you, I mean, we're talking about an $87 profit here. That's not going to change anyone's life. So it's not really about the money. It's about the thrill of the hunt, finding it, feeling like a hero, selling it, and proving to yourself and all your mates who say you're an idiot for buying a bag of Angry Birds toys that you were right. So yeah, I enjoyed making this episode. If you guys have any questions, you can DM me, jump in the comments, say hi in the comments. It'd be great to hear from some of you. And if you're watching this and you think you'd like to catch up, I'd love to have coffee with anyone. I like coffee and I like humans. So feel free to direct message me either on Instagram or Facebook, or jump in the comments. However you want to get in touch with me, I'd love to have coffee with anyone. But until next time, feel free to subscribe, because that means when I bring you episode 18, I can hand deliver it to you. See you guys.